Hello everyone, welcome to ICRA IAS. So today we are going to be covering our weekly current affairs compilation, that is from the date 10th of January to 16th of January. So the very first piece of news we have here is about the Jallikattu. ये काफी न्यूज में रहता है. So इस बार ये क्यों न्यूज में था? तो with a steep rise in the daily cases of COVID-19, the district administration in Vellore, Tiruvannamalai and Ranipet and Tirupattur have banned the conduct of Jallikattu events ahead of the Pongal festival as a part of the safety measures. ये जो जल्लीकट्टू है ये काफी न्यूज में बना रहता है, पर ये है क्या वैसे तो आपको पता होगा. It is a bull taming sport which is popular in Madurai, Tiruchirappalli, Theni, Podikottai, Dindigul districts, and it is known as Jallikattu belt. ये जो districts हैं ये सारे के सारे ये district का जो belt है इसको जल्लीकट्टू belt कहा जाता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे ये जो festival है ये sport है ये काफी popular है. Jallikattu hai, it is celebrated in the second week of January and during the Tamil harvest festival Pongal. Okay? And a tradition over 2000 years old, Jallikattu is a competitive sport as well as an event to honor bull owners who rear them for mating. And it is a violent sport. ठीक है, अभी आपको बुल टेमिंग करना है तो इट इज ऑब्वियसली अ वेरी वायलेंट स्पोर्ट एंड इन विच कंटेस्टेंट्स जितने भी होते हैं दे ट्राइंग टू टेम द बुल एंड फॉर अ प्राइस दे डू दिस. ठीक है, और अगर वो नहीं कर पाते हैं तो जो भी प्राइस होता है वो बुल के ओनर को मिल जाता है. सो वाई जल्लीकट्टू इज इम्पोर्टेंट इन तमिल कल्चर, इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है? सो बेसिकली ये जो स्पोर्ट है, ये जो फेस्टिवल है, इट इज कंसिडर्ड एज अ ट्रेडिशनल वे फॉर पीजेंट कम्युनिटी टू प्रिजर्व देयर प्योर ब्रीड नेटिव bulls. And at the time when cattle breeding is often an artificial process, conservationists जितने भी हैं and peasants जो हैं, they argue that Jallikattu is a way to protect these male animals which are otherwise used only for meat if not plogging. ठीक है. अब नाउ व्हाई हैज जल्लीकट्टू बिन द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ लीगल बैटल्स? तो बहुत टाइम से जो है ये पीटा एनिमल वेलफेयर बोर्ड ये सब जो हैं दे हैव मूव्ड पिटिशंस इन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट एंड फर्स्ट इट केम अंडर द लीगल स्क्रूटनी इन 2007 और तब से लेके अभी तक जो है ये काफी ही चर्चा में बना रहता है. Tamil Nadu government जो है however worked its way out of the ban by passing a law in 2009 which was signed by the governor, and in 2011 the UPA regime at the center added bulls to the list of the animals whose training and exhibition is prohibited. तो फिर उसके बाद 2014 में मई में days before the BJP was elected to the power, the Supreme Court banned the bull taming sport and the ruling on the petition that cited in 2011 नोटिफिकेशन. तो अभी तक इसकी लीगल बैटल ये रही है और उसके बाद से 2007 के बाद से ये काफी जो है चर्चा का विषय रहा है. एशियन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक AIIB. So why it was in news? तो फॉर्मर जो रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के गवर्नर है उर्जित पटेल जी, he has been appointed vice president of the Beijing based Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. ठीक है, Mr. Patel will serve a 3-year term as one of the multilateral development bank's 5 vice presidents. अब ये है क्या? ये जो बैंक है एशिया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक, ये है क्या? So it is a multilateral development bank with a mission to improve social and economic outcomes in Asia and beyond. The parties to agreement compromise the membership of the bank. इसका जो headquarter है जैसे बताया it's in Beijing. The bank started operation after the agreement entered into force on 25th of December 2015 and after the ratifications were received from the 10 member states Initially, they were 10 member states holding a total number of 50% of the initial subscriptions of the authorized capital stock. इसका एम क्या है? तो it is aimed by investing in sustainable infrastructure and other productive sectors today, and it aims to connect people, services, and markets that over time will impact the lives of billions and build a better future. और अभी जो है there are more than 100 members now. ठीक है, इसके जो वोटिंग राइट्स है, चाइना इज द लार्जेस्ट शेयर होल्डर, जो अभी थोड़ी दिन पहले चिंता का विषय भी था. तो it has around 26.61% of its shares, total voting shares in the bank, followed by India, which is 7.6%, followed by Russia and Germany. इसके जो रीजनल मेंबर्स हैं, they hold around 75% of the total voting power in the bank. इसके वेरियंस ऑर्गन्स कौन कौन से हैं? तो पहला तो है बोर्ड ऑफ गवर्नर्स, फिर है बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स एंड इंटरनेशनल एडवाइजरी पैनल. China's status as a developing country at the World Trade Organization WTO. तो ये न्यूज़ में क्यों था? तो ये इसलिए न्यूज़ में था कि ये जो स्टेटस है चाइना का डेवलपिंग कंट्री का WTO में, it has become a contentious issue with a number of countries raising concerns over the upper middle income nation deriving benefits reserved for the developing countries under WTO norms. तो बेसिकली मोर ओवर देखिए क्या है कंसर्न इसका कि हैव बीन रेज्ड ओवर द लास्ट लीस्ट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज LDC स्टेटस विद बांग्लादेश पोटेंशियली लूजिंग इट्स टैग आफ्टर सरपासिंग इंडिया इन टर्म्स ऑफ GDP पर कैपिटा. अभी जो डेवलपिंग कंट्री का जो स्टेटस है WTO में, ये होता क्या है? देखिए, there are no WTO definitions of a developed and developing countries. Members announce for themselves whether they are developed or developing countries. However, other members can challenge the decision of a member to make use of provisions available of developing countries. अब डेवलपिंग कंट्री जो है, इस टैग का जो एडवांटेज वो क्या है? तो ये जो स्टेटस मिलता है WTO में डेवलपिंग कंट्री का, इसके साथ में कुछ सर्टेन राइट्स भी आते हैं. ठीक है, डेवलपिंग कंट्री स्टेटस इंश्योर्स स्पेशल एंड डिफरेंशियल ट्रीटमेंट SNDT और प्रोविजंस व्हिच अलाउ देम more time to implement agreements and commitments, include measures to increase trading opportunities, safeguarding their trade interests, and support to build capacity to handle disputes and implement technical standards. तो बेसिकली वही है कि जैसे हमारे यहाँ भी रिजर्वेशन का गलत फायदा जैसे उठाया जाता है, तो कुछ हद तक ये भी उसी तरीके का खेल खेला जा रहा है यहाँ पे भी. तो WTO norms for recognition of developed and developing and LDCs, क्या norms हैं? तो under the WTO system, generally countries are designated as developed, developing and least developed countries. The uneven level of development between the developed and developing countries in the WTO is a well recognized fact. और WTO के जो आर्टिकल्स है फॉर द जो भी जनरल GATT का जो इनिशियली जो एग्रीमेंट हुआ था, उसमें जितने भी आर्टिकल्स थे, दे रिकॉग्नाइजेस दैट अटेनिंग द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ दिस एग्रीमेंट वुड रिक्वायर फैसिलिटेटिंग द प्रोग्रेसिव डेवलपमेंट ऑफ दोज कंट्रीज दैट कैन ओनली सपोर्ट लो लेवल्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट and are at the early stage of the development. Accordingly, countries self-designate themselves as developing country to take the advantage of the provisions like this article of GATT and other special and differential treatment provisions in WTO agreement. Orestes Rex and Asteroid Bennu. तो ये जो है ये जो Orestes Rex है is bringing back an asteroid sample. It will arrive home in 2023, ejecting a capsule full of samples that may help eager scientists decipher the origin of Earth's water and life. The debris NASA's asteroid-touching spacecraft collecting could help us learn about the origins of the solar system. इसका बैकग्राउंड क्या है, ये जो न्यूज़ है इसका, तो बेसिकली देखिए अक्टूबर में 20 अक्टूबर 2021 को नासा का जो ओरेसिस रेक्स स्पेसक्राफ्ट which is briefly touched asteroid Bennu, from where it is meant to collect samples of dust and pebbles and deliver them back to the Earth in 2023. अभी मिशन क्या है? ये जो चीज है Orisis Rex, it stands for origins, spectral interpretation, resources identification, security regolith, explorer. ठीक है, ये जो है Orisis Rex, it's an abbreviation. This is NASA's first mission meant to return a sample from the ancient asteroid. Launched in 2016, it reached its target in 2018. The departure window for the mission will open in 2021, after which it will take over 2 years to reach back to Earth. तो देखिए 2021 में गए थे और 2023 में वापस आएंगे. अभी जो एस्ट्रॉइड बेनू है, it was discovered by a team of NASA funded Lincoln Near Earth Asteroid Research Team in 1999. Scientists believe that it was formed in the first 10 billion years of the solar system formation, implying that it is roughly 4.5 billion years old. And because of the Bennu's age, it is likely to contain material that contains molecules that were present when life first formed on Earth, where life forms are based on carbon atom chains. And because of its high carbon content, the asteroid reflects about 4% of the light that hits it, which is very low when compared with a planet like Venus, which reflects about 65% of the light that hits it. Earth's reflect about the 30% of it. Okay. So the next piece of news we have is about the National Supercomputing Mission. And as per the Ministry of Science and Technology's annual year-end review, under the National Supercomputer Mission, 4 new supercomputers have been installed since July 2021 at IIT Hyderabad, NABI Mohali and CDAC Bangalore and IIT Kanpur. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे जो है 4 सुपर कंप्यूटर्स इंस्टॉल किए गए हैं 2021 के बाद से अभी तक. And NSM provides access to high performance computing facilities to around 75 institutions and more than thousands of active researchers, academicians and working through Nation Knowledge Network. What is National Supercomputing Mission? So it is being implemented and steered jointly by Department of Science and Technology and Department of Electronics and Information Technology. Mission है क्या basically? So the mission envisages empowering national academic and R&D institutions spread over the country by installing a vast supercomputing grid comprising of more than 70 high-performance computing facilities. And these supercomputers will also be networked on the supercomputing grid over the National Knowledge Network, that is NKN. And the NKN is another program of the government which connects academic institutions and R&D labs over a high-speed network. इसके अभी तक अचीवमेंट्स क्या है, तो देखिए सबको पता है फर्स्ट सुपर कंप्यूटर जो है असेंबल्ड इंडिजिनियसली, इट वाज कॉल्ड परम शिवाय एंड इट वाज इंस्टॉल्ड इन IIT BHU. ये जो फैक्ट है ये काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाते हैं स्टेट PCS के लिए, तो इनका थोड़ा ध्यान रखिए. एंड सिमिलर सिस्टम्स परम शक्ति एंड परम ब्रह्मा वर इंस्टॉल्ड इन IIT खड़गपुर एंड IISER पुणे. Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership RCEP and India. Why it was in news? So South Korea has said that it regrets India's absence from the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and hopes to see New Delhi rejoin the agreement. And why did it came into force? तो जो RCEP है came into effect on January 1, 2022, marking the formation of the world's largest free trade zone in terms of trade volume. तो ये जो टर्म है ये थोड़ा ध्यान में रखिएगा कि ये जो लार्जेस्ट फ्री ट्रेड जोन तो है बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रेड वॉल्यूम, तो ये ट्रेड वॉल्यूम का जो टर्म है इसको थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखिएगा. अब ये है कि इंडिया ने ज्वाइन क्यों नहीं किया। तो इंडिया withdrew from the RCEP in 2019 largely because of the concerns that it would open it up to Chinese goods amid an already wide trade imbalance with China and the failure of the agreement to adequately open up to services. Need for India's presence in RCEP. So India had a crucial role to play in helping the region build an inclusive architecture at the time of the increasing global instability. Such trade pacts will also give Indian companies a platform to showcase their strengths across even larger markets. And beside rising US-China tensions were deeply worrying for the region with the pandemic resulting in heightened tension. अब ये RCEP है क्या, तो ये basically it's a trade deal between 10 members association of Southeast Asian nations, that is ASEAN, and China, Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand. इसके aims and objectives क्या क्या हैं? तो to lower tariffs, open up trade and services, and to promote investment to help emerging economies catch up with the rest of the world. And to help reduce cost and time to companies for allowing them to export a product anywhere with the bloc without meeting separate requirements for each countries. तो पहले क्या होता था कि भाई आप हर कंट्री के अपने अलग अलग नॉर्म्स हैं, तो अगर आप इस अग्रीमेंट के अंदर हैं तो आपके वो अलग अलग आपको नॉर्म्स नहीं फेस करने हैं हर कंट्री के. यू विल बी फेसिंग सिमिलर नॉर्म्स इन द countries which have agreed to this. इसका significance क्या है? तो RCEP will cover about 30% of the global gross domestic product, that is GDP, which is worth around $26.2 trillion, and nearly a third of world's population, come 2.2 billion people. Keeping India and China in the region in mind, तो it's obvious कि भाई वर्ल्ड का सबसे बड़ा पॉपुलेशन का हिस्सा ये कवर करने वाला है. Under RCEP, around 90% of the trade tariffs within the bloc will eventually be eliminated, and RCEP will also set common rules around trade, intellectual property, e-commerce, and competition. Gaganyaan mission. So why it was in news? So Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO, they have recently successfully conducted the qualification test of cryogenic engine for Gaganyaan program for a duration of 720 seconds at ISRO Propulsion Complex, that is IPRC, in Tamil Nadu's Mahendragiri. The performance of the engines met the test objectives and the engine parameters were closely matching with the predictions during the entire duration of the test. इसका significance क्या है? तो देखिए, this successful long duration test is a major milestone for human space program, that is Gaganyaan. ठीक है? It ensures the reliability and robustness of the cryogenic engine for induction into the human rated launch vehicle of the Gaganyaan. So that is why it is very important. Why it was announced? The formal announcement of the Gaganyaan program was made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his Independence Day address on August 5th, 2018. The initial target was to launch the human spaceflight before the 75th anniversary of India's independence on August 15, 2022, and with this launch, India will become the fourth nation in the world to launch a human spaceflight mission after USA, Russia and China. इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या क्या है? ये जो मिशन है गगनयान प्रोग्राम के, तो इट इज टू डेमोन्स्ट्रेट द कैपेबिलिटी ऑफ टू सेंड ह्यूमंस टू द लो अर्थ ऑर्बिट ऑन बोर्ड an Indian launch vehicle and bring them back to Earth safely. So we are just taking baby steps here. Preparation and launch. For Indian astronaut candidates have already undergone generic space flight training in Russia as a part of the Gaganyaan program, and ISRO's heavy lift launcher GSLV Mark 3 has been identified for the mission. तो भाई ये थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखिएगा. Relevance of a manned space mission for India. Boost to the industries, कैसे कि the Indian industry will find large opportunities through participation in the highly demanding space missions. ठीक है, Gaganyaan mission is expected to source nearly 60% of its equipment from Indian private sector. Employment, according to the ISRO chief, the Gaganyaan mission would create 15,000 new employment opportunities and 13,000 of them in private industry, and the space organization would need an additional manpower of 900. Spurs research and development. So it will thrust significant research in areas such as material processing, astrobiology, resource mining, planetary chemistry, planetary orbital calculus, and many other areas. मोटिवेशन के लिए भी ज़रूरी है क्योंकि ह्यूमन स्पेस फ्लाइट विल प्रोवाइड दैट इंस्पिरेशन टू द यूथ एंड ऑल्सो द नेशनल पब्लिक मेन स्ट्रीम दैट इट वुड इंस्पायर यंग जनरेशंस इनटू नोबल अचीवमेंट्स एंड एनेबल देम टू प्ले देयर लेजिटिमेट रोल इन चैलेंजिंग फ्यूचर एक्टिविटीज. और फिर आखिरी और सबसे मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट बात है भाई प्रेस्टीज कि इंडिया कुड पोटेंशियली बिकम द 4th कंट्री टू लॉन्च अ ह्यूमन स्पेस मिशन. बड़ी ही प्राउड वाली बात है हमारे लिए. तो जो गगनयान मिशन है विल नॉट ओनली ब्रिंग अबाउट द प्रेस्टीज टू द इंडियन नेशन बट ऑल्सो एस्टैब्लिश इंडियाज रोल एज अ की प्लेयर इन द स्पेस इंडस्ट्री. Plea on hate speech in Supreme Court. So why it was in news? On January 12, 2022, the Supreme Court of India agreed to hear petitions asking for legal actions to be taken against the organizers of and the speakers at the हरिद्वार धर्म संसद. ये जो हुई थी यहाँ पे वहाँ पे कुछ इशू हो गया था और ये इशू ये था कि ड्यूरिंग दिस धर्म संसद दैट हैड बिन टेकन प्लेस बिटवीन दिसंबर 19 से लेके 21 तक ये जो है धर्म संसद ये हुई थी और यहाँ पे बहुत सारी स्पीचेस और बहुत सारे भाषण दिए गए थे एंड दी स्पीचेस रेंज फ्रॉम ओपनिंग कॉल्स टू वायलेंस. कैसे ओपनिंग कॉल्स कि waging a war that would be more gruesome than 1857 या if you want to eliminate their that is Muslim population then kill them or to economic and social boycott of Muslims. There is no Muslim buyer here so throw that vendor out. So इस तरीके की काफ़ी सारे वहाँ पे स्पीचेस काफ़ी सारे भाषण काफ़ी सारे ओपन कॉल्स वहाँ पे सुनने को मिले थे. तो सिमिलर petitions in the code. 2 petitions have been filed in Supreme Court on the hate speeches in the recent past. One petition asked that the Supreme Court to issue directions for actions in such cases, and the second plea sought special provisions, insisting that the IPC wasn't enough to deal with the hate speech and rumor mongering. And both petitions relied on a 2020 Supreme Court decision इन अमीश देवगन का जो ये जो केस हुआ था इसके ऊपर where the hate speech was linked to the violation of unity and fraternity and breach of human dignity which constitutes an essential facet of the right to life and liberty under Article 21 of the Constitution. तो बेसिकली ये इशू था और ये जो इशू है ये है कि जो petitioners है they were concerned over concerted events in the recent past that targeted political, social and economic exclusion of Muslims through a series of rallies and hate speeches. The petitioners also sought implementation of guidelines on hate speeches passed by Supreme Court in 2014 and on mob violence and lynching events in subsequent decision in 2018. अभी हेट स्पीच जो है इसकी डेफिनेशन क्या होती है हेट स्पीच होता क्या है हम किस चीज को हेट स्पीच कहते हैं तो हेट स्पीच जो है इट इज एन इंक्रीमेंट टू हेट्रेड अगेंस्ट अ particular group of persons marginalized by their religious beliefs, sexual orientation, gender or so on. The Law Commission in its 267th report on hate speech said that such utterances have the potential to provoke individuals and the society to commit acts of terrorism, genocide and ethical cleansing. how this hate speech it is treated in Indian law. So section 153A and 505 of the Indian Penal Code are generally taken to be the main penal provisions that deal with inflammatory speeches and expressions that seek to punish the hate speech. अब why hate speech must be curbed, तो क्यों जरूरी है? देखिए सबसे पहले तो इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा यही है, ठीक है. The Muzaffarnagar riots in 2013 was triggered by a fake video, है ना, that incited communal passions, ignited extremist sentiments, mob lynching and misinformation and disinformation जैसे कि दिल्ली राइट्स. ठीक है, तो इन सब चीज़ों से बचने के लिए ये मेजर बहुत बड़े बड़े इश्यूज हैं. इन सब चीज़ों से बचने के लिए हमें ये जो हेट स्पीच है इसे कर्ब करना ज़रूरी है. अब इसके लिए हम मेजर्स क्या क्या ले सकते हैं? तो देखिए वर्ल्ड्स बिगेस्ट सोशल मीडिया कंपनीज इंक्लूडिंग फेसबुक, गूगल, ट्विटर, बिटडांस आर एक्सप्लोरिंग एन इंडस्ट्री वाइड अलायंस टू कर्ब फेक न्यूज़ on their platforms in India. The Election Commission of India must tie up with tech companies to identify the creator of such news and the educating the end users. The government should also bring out a policy framework on possible harm due to the internet messaging platforms to engage at deeper levels and imposing hefty fines like in Germany. वहाँ पे क्या होता है कि social media companies face fines up to 50 million pounds if they persistently fail to remove illegal content from their sites. Need of the hour. Hate speeches is a discursive process of punishing marginalized group outside of social, economic and political spheres of society by disseminating the hate propaganda and encouraging discrimination. So at its most harmful, it is widely recognized as a precursor to ethnic cleansing. मतलब शुरुआत जो है ethnic cleansing की कहा जाता है कि इसी यहीं से होती है ना. And public authorities must be held accountable for dereliction of the duty of care and also for non-compliance with the court's orders by not taking actions to prevent vigilante groups from inciting communal disharmony and spreading hate against citizens of the country and taking the law in their own hands. Sir Creek Pact. Why it was in news? So Siachen and Sir Creek have long been termed low-hanging fruits. क्यों? क्योंकि in the past for resolution between India and Pakistan and the two countries have held 13 rounds of defense secretary level talks on Siachen and the last one in June 2012. मतलब जो 2012 के बाद से हुई ही नहीं है. However, there had been no resolution yet on the issue. सर क्रीक है क्या? तो सर क्रीक इज अ 96 किलोमीटर का एक स्ट्रिप है ऑफ वाटर डिस्प्यूटेड बिटवीन इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान इन रन ऑफ कच्छ मार्शलैंड्स. तो ये जो इंडिया और ये इस तरफ ये जो सर क्रीक है ये इधर पे है 96 किलोमीटर का एक वाटर स्ट्रिप है. ओरिजिनली नेम्ड बाणगंगा, सर क्रीक इज नेम्ड आफ्टर अ ब्रिटिश रिप्रेजेंटेटिव. The creek opens up in Arabian Sea and roughly divides the Kutch region of Gujarat from the Sindh province of Pakistan. ठीक है, ये यहाँ पे Arabian Sea है. तो what's the dispute? So the dispute lies in the interpretation of the maritime boundary line between Kutch and Sindh. Before India's independence, the provincial region was a part of the Bombay Presidency of the British India, but after India's independence in 1947, Sindh became a part of the Pakistan, while Kutch remained a part of India. अब पाकिस्तान ये क्लेम करता है कि भाई ये सारा के सारा जो क्रीक है ये हमारा है ना. And as per the paragraphs 9 and 10 of the Bombay Government Resolution of 1914 signed between the government of Sindh and Rao Maharaja of Kutch, तो इनके हिसाब से जो है ये सारा के सारा हमारा है. And the resolution, which demarcated the boundaries between the two countries, included the creek as a part of Sindh and thus setting the boundary as the eastern flank of the creek, popularly known as the Green Line. तो भाई एग्जाम में ये आ जाता है कि ग्रीन लाइन है क्या, है ना. But India's claims that the boundary lies mid-channel as depicted in another map drawn in 1925 and implemented by the installation of mid-channel pillars back in 1924. And in its support, it cites the थावलेग डॉक्ट्रिन इन इंटरनेशनल मैरीटाइम लॉ। अब ये है क्या, तो ये तो खैर इसमें बस यही है कि विच स्टेट्स दैट रिवर बाउंड्रीज बिटवीन टू स्टेट्स मे बी डिवाइडेड बाय द मिड चैनल इफ द वाटर बॉडी इज नेविगेबल। ठीक है। अब सर क्रीक जो है इसको लेके जो जितना झगड़ा हो रहा है, तो ये हो क्यों रहा है, तो देखिए अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्ट्रेटेजिक लोकेशन, ये जो सर क्रीक की जो कोर इंपॉर्टेंस है इज द फिशिंग रिसोर्सेज। सर क्रीक इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी अमंग द लार्जेस्ट फिशिंग ग्राउंड्स इन एशिया। ठीक है। Another vital reason is the possible presence of the great oil and gas concentration under the sea, which are currently exploited thanks to the implementing deadlocks on the issue. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching.